Texas Senator Ted Cruz is joining us live. He's had a chance to at least look at some of the devastation. Yeah. First of all, Senator, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it.
Well, it's great to be with you, and our city, it's hurting.
Yeah.
This storm was something else.
Absolutely. And you've had a chance at least to look around a bit, and not just here in the Houston area, where obviously we are suffering greatly, but you really went to the start of the hurricane, and that's down in the Corpus, Port Aransas area.
Yeah, no, on Wednesday I drove down to Corpus and met the president there and joined in meeting with local leaders down there, and then went up to Austin with him and then back here. And actually this morning I had been planning to drive down to Rockport and Port Aransas and Victoria, all of which were hit really badly by the storm. On the front end, when it was a Category 4 hurricane, and the wind damage there has been enormous. So we took off on 59 about 8 a.m. this morning and couldn't get there. The freeway was underwater, so we got about 45 minutes out of town, and it was impassable, and there were no alternative routes. So we turned around and came back to Houston.
Our state has taken such a big hit. About 45 minutes ago or so, there was a press conference, a White House advisor from Homeland Security that was saying there's going to need to be some supplemental aid.
Sure.
Congress is going to have to act. What are your thoughts about whether that will be done and whether it will be done fast?
It's going to be done, and I believe it'll be done quickly. I mean, I can tell you this week I've gotten calls from probably a dozen senators, Republicans, Democrats, just offering their prayers, their support. I think we are going to see strong bipartisan support for a major relief bill.
How much you think major is going to be?
It's going to take some time to quantify the damage, but there are estimates that are saying this could be the costliest disaster in U.S. history. I mean, the scope of the damage is staggering, and it runs the Gulf Coast from down Corpus and the coast all the way up to Houston. It's just devastating what we've seen, and we're looking at what's happening in Beaumont and Port Arthur. I mean, it has done enormous damage, and Louisiana as well.
Now, we heard Mayor Turner and County Judge Ed Emmett yesterday say they've already set aside some money as part of their emergency relief fund. I think the city has some $20 million set aside. But he went on to say, but we need that reimbursed immediately, and we need 10 to 20 times as much, at least immediately. Do you see that happening, FEMA writing those checks right away?
So the mayor raised that with me yesterday, and I picked up the phone and called the FEMA administrator, Brock Long. You know, one of the roles I've been trying to play throughout this is just helping coordinate all the resources and assets at federal, state, local, and county level to get them all working together. And I had a very positive, productive conversation with the administrator, who I expressed the city's concerns that we needed payments up front rather than reimbursements, particularly doing things like debris removal and getting some of the damaged material out. And the administrator committed to work hard to make that happen. And so I helped arrange further conversations and further those conversations with the mayor and city staff, and we're going to have the FEMA administrator here tomorrow.
Okay, I think that's a yes, but I'm hoping that means we get those checks right away.
Well, I'm hoping it does as well, and so it was not signed in blood, but it was pretty close.
Okay.
So we're you know, and actually that has been the approach of the administration from the beginning. I mean, I've spoken with the president multiple times throughout the course of this storm, and every time he has been unequivocal. First conversation right at the beginning when it was hitting, the president just said, Ted, whatever Texas needs, the answer is yes. And he convened a cabinet meeting by video conference, and he told every cabinet member, lean in, fast, immediate, every resource we need, let's have it available. And it's, you know, I've spoken to cabinet member after cabinet member. That has been their approach. It really has been. And the cooperation we've seen, the federal government, the state, Greg Abbott has done, our governor's done a phenomenal job with, and then at the city level, the mayor's done a terrific job, the county judge, and they've all been working together. That's some of what has helped us get through this enormous challenge.
Senator, I know you said that you got a chance to go to NRG as well, where so many people have been evacuated and are taking shelter. What are your thoughts about the work that's been done to get so many people into a safe place so fast?
So I just came from NRG, where they've got open beds and facilities, and they're caring for. They've got about 1,000 people there that they're caring for, and so I took some time just thanking the volunteers, thanking everyone there, and helping serve lunch. I've done that a couple of different times also at George R. Brown Convention Center, where we've had up to 11,000 people staying there. You know what is amazing? I mean, we've got 230 shelters that have been set up across the state for this, many of them by the Red Cross and Salvation Army and churches. What's amazing, though, is just the outpouring of love.
Yes. It is.
You know, I was yesterday serving breakfast at the George R. Brown shelter, and the gentleman next to me, I thanked him. I just said, hey, thank you for being here and helping out. And he laughed and said, well, I got to be. My house is underwater, and so I'm staying here.
So he's working and he's a resident.
George R. Brown, there were two different gentlemen who, you know, I asked them, I said, you know, how's your home? And both of them said, I don't have a home. I'm homeless. I'm sleeping under a bridge. But they were volunteering and sweeping the floors, and I mean, that's they were, everyone there just wanted to help and participate, and we've seen it. I mean, we saw heroic first responders, but then ordinary citizens jumping in boats and pulling their neighbors out of harm's way. It's been really incredible.
Well, and as you look at all that, and this is your state, you are representing Texas, and we've seen this armada, you know, come roaring in from all over the country. We love the Cajun Navy next door, and they just rounded up their boats. How does that make you feel as you talk to your colleagues, and what are you hearing from the rest of them?
Look, just incredible what we've seen. Yesterday, I went out on an airboat just north of the Addicks Dam and toured a neighborhood that you know, the floodwaters are up to the rooftops. I mean, it's devastating. And we had their boats, volunteers from a bunch of guys from Oklahoma. We had another group from Fort Worth, another group from Lubbock. We obviously had the Cajun Navy. I saw at the George R. Brown a fellow who was a New York firefighter.
And just came.
Big guy, he came and he was sharing, he said, you know, on September 11th, the whole country stood with us and had our back. And helps so much, and he said when there's a big disaster, he just jumps in a truck and heads down. It's his way of saying thank you. And I mean, I just hugged the man and just said, you know, we appreciate your being here.
When you look at what happened with Katrina, even with Ike and with the tropical storm, I mean, do you feel like we've learned some lessons and we responded better, that we did things
I do. You know, unfortunately, we're battle hardened. I mean, this is, you know, Texas gets a lot of natural disasters. We're a big state. And, you know, I'm a lifelong Houstonian. I mean, we're used to hurricanes in this town. That's part of, you live on the Gulf Coast, you're going to deal with hurricanes. What we saw with Harvey is unlike anything we've ever seen. I mean, you know, they're calling it a 500-year storm. You know, I remember as a kid, Hurricane Alicia, you know, sheltering in the bathroom as we had trees coming down, or we had a tree come down in the front.
A tree.
But what was different about this was the fact that it just sat and wouldn't move, and for 5 days just pounded 50 inches of rain on us. And that flooding has done so much damage, and yet, in the face of tragedy, it's been inspiring. I mean, just seeing the hearts of Texans. Yesterday, I had the chance to go by a city council meeting, and they were passing emergency resolutions to deal with the flooding, and the mayor invited me to address the council, and I just took a minute just to thank him. Say thank you to the mayor, thank you to the council members and the police officers and firefighters and all the city workers who've been working around the clock. And Sheila Jackson Lee was there too, and she was sitting next to me and also addressing the council, and we were observing, said, look, you know, on another day there are issues that divide us. Politically, she and I have some disagreements, but not today. Today, we are all Houstonians, we're all Texans, and we're all Americans, and that unity, that coming together, it's powerful.
America loves to see that too.
Yeah, they
loves to see that. You know, another thing going on in Houston is the issue of the reservoirs.
Yes.
The Addicks Reservoir, Barker's Reservoir being released, and Army Corps of Engineers decides that. What are your thoughts on moving forward, what we do about these reservoirs and the fact that so many people now, the rain has stopped and it's gone, but the problem is the reservoirs being released into their neighborhoods?
Well, and by those reservoirs, the flooding that is there, that is expected to be around for weeks, because the only way to let it down is releasing that water, and that water then rushes down the bayou and floods other parts. And so the Army Corps of Engineers trying to minimize the total flooding, but it's a difficult balance. And so some of those homes that I saw yesterday on the airboat, they're expected to be underwater for a long, long time. And, you know, you're looking at entire neighborhoods that may well have to be torn down and just rebuilt from the ground up.
What is your thought about that?
You know,
do we tear them down? Do we keep building the reservoirs?
Well, for the seriously flood damaged homes and buildings, they're going to have to be torn down, and then I'm sure there's going to be a discussion about what is the safety and where does it make sense to rebuild or not. I'm sure that'll be a discussion that'll involve a lot of actors, federal actors and state and local actors assessing that. You know, what I can say is this last week we were in the crisis mode, the first stage of where your focus is on saving lives. It's on search and rescue, and thousands upon thousands were saved because of the bravery of so many Texans. We've now moved into the recovery and rebuilding phase. And that's going to take weeks or even months, or it could be years for some of the rebuilding. And that, we're going to see very, very significant federal assistance there. FEMA has a long statutory role of stepping in and helping people rebuild their homes, rebuild their businesses.
And get into temporary housing, because that's a big concern right now as well.
And then that's one of the things I spoke with the FEMA administrator about yesterday, was the temporary housing, both the people who are in shelters, moving some of them into hotel rooms and motel rooms, looking at mobile homes, looking at all sorts of different options for getting people a place to live that's safe and secure. And that's going to take some time to do, but I think they are trying to move as quickly as humanly possible to get that done.
I want to ask you something that, and this was brought up to me last night. You're having thousands of conversations with everybody, of course, but the point was made that we have seen so much sort of dark stuff in recent weeks, recent months, and Charlottesville sort of exemplified that when we saw so much rancor there between various ranks. And then there's this. Then there's the contrast of Houston and Texas and what we've seen over the last few days. I don't know about you, but I've had some emotional moments. I presume you have too.
It's impossible not to.
But what does that say about the basic goodness of people, and certainly Texans?
I think this week reminded us who we are and spoke volumes about the character of our city and the character of our state and who we are as Americans. That there's so much more that brings us together and unites us, and the selflessness and sacrifice that we've seen. Listen, I think we're going to come out of this. I know we're going to come out of this, but Houston's going to be stronger. And I love our city. I am a diehard Houstonian. By the way, my prediction is the Rockets are going to win it all.
We'll take that prediction.
But this is the most entrepreneurial big city in the world. Houston is, as you know, we're an international, diverse city, people from all over the world. And what I love about this town, nobody cares who your daddy is. This is a town where you come with big dreams and hard work and you achieve anything. And that's the spirit that's going to rebuild Houston. And it's what built us, you know, from a handful of settlers on the bayou to where we are today, and it's what will rebuild this city. And those values, you're right, we have had some tough and divisive conversations recently. It's nice to be reminded that there's an awful lot that brings us together.
I'm going to remember that. Nobody cares who your daddy is. That's a wonderful line. Well, Senator, we appreciate you so much coming by and spending a few minutes with us. We know you've got a lot to do, but this was important for us to be able to hear from you.
Well, thank you. And let me take a minute to say thank you to both of you. And thank you to the whole team here at Channel 13. I know that you've had reporters out in the field risking their lives in floodwaters. And you've had people, you know, behind the camera and in the control rooms who are pulling all-nighters, who aren't sleeping. And I know some of your employees, their houses are flooded. And they're here. The role that y'all play, I mean, look, at a time of disaster, the city looks to you. That's where they find out what's happening, what's next, where do I go, am I being evacuated? And so y'all are making a huge difference. I just want to say thank you to you.
Well, we appreciate you coming and saying that,
And speaking of behind the camera, can we do one thing? This is not scripted. Young ladies, will y'all come up here for a second? Come on.
Caroline, Catherine.
So we get a chance to see you.
Did your whole family get a chance to go to the shelters?
Girls, just run on up here.
And your beautiful wife. I want to be able to see everybody.
So Heidi is not here, but Caroline and
You want to
Catherine.
come up on the set?
Come on up here.
There's a couple stairs, so watch your step.
Be very careful.
Watch your step.
Yeah, it's a crazy little set. How are you doing?
Your wife is like, I'm not having it.
Hi there. How are you doing? Well, good. It's pretty exciting to be out here on TV, isn't it? I know. You
we
all will
appreciate
be
you
so
coming on.
patient watching your dad. But how old are you?
I'm 9.
And?
I'm 6.
And that's why you're so tall and grown up and sophisticated. Well, we are glad to have you all here. You're nice and safe, though, right? What'd you feel when you went to that shelter and saw some of the other kids? What'd you think about that? That's okay. You think about
A real
it.
civics lesson, though, for all of our children.
Yeah,
a lot of conversations.
They've been going around with me and
Yeah.
trying to help out and help out the community.